Alright friends, today we're going to be playing this game right here, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker on the Sega Genesis. Came out in 1990, an adaptation of both the movie and the arcade game of the same name. Loose adaptation. We're going to be playing this on an emulator, but for the piracy nuts out there, I do own this game. Label's a little worse for wear. I actually got this one used at Blockbuster for 80 cents, if you can believe that. I was actually an employee of Blockbuster at the time. This was the summer vacation in between high school and college. So I can't remember if it was 80 cents with the employee discount or without, but I do remember getting it for 80 cents. I distinctly remember that because over the years I've thought about replacing it to get a cleaner label, but the game has shot up in value so much since I was in high school that I can't justify spending $200 on a cartridge just to get a better label. So we're going to dig right in. There's going to be a lot of times, because this is sort of a repetitive game, so there's going to be a lot of times we don't have a lot to talk about. So in those times, I'm going to talk about, we're going to hang out, we're going to talk about Michael. We're going to talk about the movie. We're going to talk about, the success his catalog is having in 2026. Maybe the soundtrack, the vinyl releases, the Keepsake trading cards that just came out, the Mobile Fidelity series and where that's been going. So let's dig in and start. All right. Down to options. We're going to leave it on normal. We don't want to play on easy. We certainly don't want to play on hard. This is actually a pretty hard game, no matter how you slice it. So no need to flex on hard. We start out in Club 30, where the smooth criminal segment more or less starts in the film. I mentioned that there was an arcade game of the same name that came out first. It was more of a 3D, I'm not going to say 3D platformer. It was still 2D sprites, but in a three-dimensional plane. And the really cool thing about it was that you got to be Mecha Michael Jackson a lot more, and you could play two players simultaneous, which is always really cool. This game also had a port for the Sega Master System. It was basically the same game, but with 8-bit graphics. And there was an arcade version, or not arcade, sorry, a computer version for the Amiga line of computers, which I didn't discover until pretty recently. I think it was the A500 Mini, and I put Moonwalker on there, fully expecting, like, basically the Sega Master System version of the game, and was pretty surprised to see it was a totally unique game. Very hard. Only played it once or twice. But yeah, so the object of this game, you go around each level looking for, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? So I guess, I feel like some levels have more than that, but you're looking for a bunch of kids that Mr. Big has kidnapped. And when I say a bunch of kids, I really just mean Katie over and over again. Although, I guess that's fair because in the movie, Katie is the only one that gets kidnapped, right? It's been a while since I've seen it, actually. So, there, you find Katie. She restores a little bit of your health if it's missing. And when you find all of them, bubbles will come out and point you to the boss fight. You have to check, like, every single door, because the one door you don't check is going to be the one that had the kid in it. And it's the same in the next few levels. Got to check the trunk of every single car. Hey. Anywhere where there could be a kid hiding. Alright, I think I remember the last kid being on the top floor all the way on the left. I actually did play a little bit of this to bone up pretty recently. Try to reduce the chances that this would end in a game over. Because that would be a shame. Oh, over here? Okay. Alright. When Mr. Big comes out over there, that's a very good Joe Pesci likeness, by the way. you can't touch him, because if you touch him, he's gonna hurt you. And if you're unlucky, and you can get unlucky in this way pretty often, you'll get stuck on him, and he'll just keep hurting you until you die. So just avoid him. You'll get your chance in the end boss fight to beat him. This might be a good time to talk about the movie. So, if you go on my YouTube profile, you'll see that I list myself, very first word is cinephile, and I can tell you I've been a Michael Jackson fan all my life. And nowhere have those two things been at odds more than in this movie. I think the critics score on Rotten Tomatoes was something like, it was 35 at one point. I think it might be 39 now. And the audience score was 97, 98, somewhere in there. So there's a huge gap there. Where do I fall? I think it's all right. It's okay. I don't think it's nearly as bad as the critics score. I don't think it's nearly as good as the audience score will have you believe either, though. Sort of a middle-of-the-road kind of experience. I mean, as a musical, it's fun, you know, sort of bop around from song to song in Michael's catalog, beginning with the Steel Town era of the Jackson 5, going all the way up to, we'll call it the very beginning of the Bad era, because it's the song Bad plays at the end. And yes, there's going to be some spoilers. I mean, we're not giving away the end of the new Star Wars movie or anything. It's just real life events. So yeah, it begins in the Steel Town era, goes up to the very beginning of the Bad era. Why am I fighting cats? Michael was a big animal lover. Like, I don't understand why cats and dogs and birds would be the enemies in this game. So yeah, what I would say about the film is that I think all of the criticisms of it are fair, regardless of whether you would be bothered by the things that people, you know, were annoyed about with the film. They're fair criticisms. So we're gonna get the elephant out of the room immediately, like, or whatever you want to say. It does not deal with the allegations of child abuse levied against Michael. And I think that was a weird choice, you know, even as somebody who doesn't believe he did it, you know, like I think not addressing it was the wrong decision. You're talking about something that had such a monumental, such a monumental impact on his life, his music, his legacy, his career. To not address it just feels like you're copping out. You know, it feels like you're trying to ignore it, trying to get people to forget about it. And it's obviously the first thing. Like, it's become such an inseparable part of the conversation when it comes to Michael. Actually really annoys me. The Michael Jackson subreddit, if you've ever been on there, you're in no way allowed to discuss, you know, like, the impacts that child molestation allegations have had against Michael. It can't come up at all, which means, like, you can't really have much of an intelligent conversation about the guy. Most of the posts on that subreddit wind up being like, "Oh my god, you guys, his smile, I can't even." Or, "What do you think was the best song in the 4th position of any one of his albums? Answer my poll for a tournament that'll go all month." Just gets annoying. The obvious defense that some people have for that is that there were no allegations of this stuff in 1988. But the criticisms are fair because they're the ones that chose to end the movie in 1988. The original point of the movie, like why they made the movie, was that they wanted to present Michael's side of this story. You know, if you really if you really dig in and look at this stuff, there's no evidence that it actually happened. And it would have been a great opportunity to present that to the general public. So that was what the script was. They shot that movie, edited it, and then the lawyers tell them, as it turns out, there are legal issues that prevent us from being able to dramatize this. So they had to reshoot the third act of the movie. 2 bombs in a row? And that actually presents another reason why I thought it was just sort of okay. Like, you take this thing that Michael had to deal with basically all of his life, and the movie gets replaced with this very one-dimensional story of Michael versus his Disney movie villain father, Joe Jackson. We take the accomplishments of one of the most influential, successful recording artists of all time, and we boil his life story down to the most impressive accomplishment he ever had was standing up to his dad and quitting the Jacksons. And that's kind of lame. I don't know. But it was fun. You know, as somebody who really likes the movie, or music, I should say. Because I enjoy the music. But if you don't really love the music, you might actually find this movie to be pretty slow. Because they don't just play the songs. They play basically the entirety of the songs. And they're not playing it over the events of the film. They're stopping to, what would you call it? Perform basically each song in its entirety. So the movie already feels a little slow, despite the fact that it has to move at a breakneck speed to get you from like 1968 to 1988 without really skipping much. It felt a little slow because it very rarely uses score. It does use score. I saw John Ottman's name in the end credits. He scored Superman Returns, so I was familiar with him. But it very rarely uses it. And if you want to see the difference between, you know, like what score can do for a movie, look up on YouTube. There was this video I saw once, The Power of John Williams, where they show you, I think it was scenes from E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And they show you it without score and with score. And it was all just very, like, slow and awkward without the score. And with it, you know, the emotional powerhouses that we've come to love. So then on top of that, on top of the no score, you wind up, you know, if you're not a huge fan, you got to sit through the entirety of a performance of each song. When I went, I actually saw the movie in theaters twice. I saw it once by myself on opening day, and then my daughter really wanted to see it later, so I went with her. And somewhere around the time that Michael burned his hair and went to the hospital, she told me she really had to go to the bathroom. So I was like, let's go. You know, like, I've already seen this. Not worried about missing anything. But she didn't want to miss anything. So she was like, how much do you think is left? And I was like, I wasn't really keeping track when I saw it the first time, but, you know, he's got to do the victory tour, and then they perform Bad, and it's pretty much over. What I didn't remember was how much time was spent. You know, like, you're listening to the entirety of Human Nature. There was an entire song after that, which I can't remember at the moment. It's the one where he quits. It's different from the one that played in real life. And then the entirety of Bad, you know? So you're going to feel that length if you're not really into his music. All right, we're in the graveyard scene here, which is obviously supposed to be a thriller level. We never really got a straight answer on why Another Part of Me plays here. It's probably a licensing issue because Michael didn't actually write Thriller, Rod Temperton did. So I'm sure they just didn't want to pay royalties. But in at least this version of the game, I think there might have been versions without it. If we do the dance party in the end, which I'll make sure to do, you will hear Thriller. So I don't know. Maybe they forgot about that at first and they had to pay the royalties anyway. There are people that think there are versions of this game that have Thriller playing over this part of the level, and they're wrong. It's a Mandela effect. I think the prototype might have had it, and so people got a hold of that and then used that to ROM hack the song in. But there's no commercially available version of this game that has the song in it, at least for the whole level. Alright, will this kill all of them? Yeah. Okay. The next stage, the boss fight in this next stage, is going to be where I hit probably my biggest problem in the game. Like, it's a really difficult... It might be the most difficult boss fight in the game outside of the end boss fight. We'll get to that momentarily. So yeah, back to the movie. I did think... Oh, alright. We'll talk about the Lucky Star later. I did think it was a little one-dimensional. But I thought that everyone did a very good job with it. Like, Jafar Jackson is amazing as Michael. Coleman Domingo does a very good job with what he's given. Even if it is just very 100% dick, no character development kind of Disney movie villain portrayal. It's not his fault. It's what he was given. And I thought, for what it's worth, Antoine Fuqua, I think that's how you say his name. He did very well directing it. Like, you know, given the legal issues that he had, I mean, I don't know what I would have done better in that situation. Come on. For what it's worth, they have said that they're going to be addressing the child abuse stuff in Michael Part 2. We're not going to get to see it because we're going to die in this level. So I don't know what that's going to mean. Maybe they're going to have to advance beyond the bad and dangerous levels, eras, pick things up. I can speak English, I swear. Pick things up in the history era. You know, and then the next time the allegations come up, you just say something like, "Ah, this again," you know, like without actually giving any specifics. Maybe that's how you do it. I don't know. It's gonna make for a darker movie because Part 2 is gonna have to be, you know, Michael with his problems with drugs, allegations of child molestation. You're gonna have the weaker half of his catalog. Hey, look, I've been a fan all my life. It's the weaker half of the catalog. All right, just live with it. So it might not be as fun for a lot of people as that first one, but it might be a more in-depth three-dimensional film. So you might trade one for the other. All right, here we go. So the strategy here is I got to kill one of them off as fast as I can. And then hopefully I have enough life left over to kill the other one when there's just one left. It's a lot easier said than done. Nope, this is not happening. We got Bubbles here. That reminds me that I really didn't like the effect of Bubbles in the movie. It's 2026. You got kids on TikTok that can make convincing AI videos of animals. There was no reason for this to look like Rise of the Planet of the Apes, you know, 15, 20 years ago, whenever that movie came out. Bubbles actually reminds me, my other big criticism of the movie, they did streamline some stuff timeline-wise, but I never really felt like they were lying to me. But the one thing that I thought was kind of like distractingly wrong was that they kind of portrayed it as Michael didn't have like a friend in the world. It was just his rat and his monkey and I guess his llama. I don't know. If I didn't have to do this to take such a big chunk out of their life, maybe if I die here, I'll try not doing the dance, but you have to kill one of them. Ugh. We're gonna blow a continue on level 2. Or this is level 3. But yeah, they made it seem like Michael didn't have any friends. I mean, he had good friends. He had Brooke Shields, he had Emmanuel Lewis, Elizabeth Taylor, Diana Ross, Macaulay Culkin. That would have been a little later, to be honest with you. The Osmonds, Stevie Wonder. The Jackson brothers, who are relegated to background characters in this movie. Which is weird. Because, you know, the movie primarily covers the Jackson 5 and Jackson's era. For Jermaine, Marlon, Tito, and Jackie to just be background characters. Weird. Alright, we got one of them. Ugh. Not doing particularly well against the other one, though. He's got me trapped in this corner. Come on, just die. Alright. We lost too many lives on that. So yeah, what were we on? Right, inaccuracies as friends. So yeah. I thought it was, and along the lines of the Jackson brothers, it was always my understanding, I mean, I'm sure Joe's business practices played a part in Michael quitting the Jacksons. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a major part, but I always understood it that Michael quit the Jacksons during the Victory Tour because of the tensions that were going on with him and his brothers at the time. You didn't get any sense of that. Yeah, by all means, dogpile on me. It should be noted that there are really no zombies in Moonwalker. For all the zombies that are in this game, and it's not just this level. Oops. There's like a 20-second clip or so where they play, you know, the Thriller. And that's it. This game makes it seem like zombies are the big antagonists. Whoa. Alright, so I gotta get across this, I think. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how I felt about the movie. It was fun for me. I could see how people looking for something a little deeper would be disappointed. If I had to give it a number score, probably like a good 5 out of 10 would be fair. I look forward to the next one. I mean, I liked this one. I mean, it's, you say anything negative about a Michael Jackson project, people jump on you, but I did enjoy it. They announced 2 4K steelbooks. One's an Amazon exclusive, one's a Walmart exclusive. For the record, I ordered both of them. All right, strategy here, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pull this off, but you gotta be able to trap, here we go. Trap him in the corner, just kill him, and then you deal with the other one. All right, come on. No, get down here. Yes, got you. See, you would think that this should be harder, and maybe it is harder if you don't get that trick down, but it ought to be harder than the other one. So yeah, I pre-ordered both of them. I liked it. It's not going to be the last time I watch it. Let's talk about the soundtrack. So, the soundtrack got a lot of heat from fans, some of which I think was absolutely deserved. Others I just thought, you know, coming down on it too hard. So, the big thing that everybody was mad about with the soundtrack was that it didn't have any unreleased material on it. It was just you know, the songs that played in the movie that are the songs, you know, it's a greatest hits album. It's a greatest hits album that starts really in the Jacksons era, because I don't think it has like the Motown recorded versions of any of the songs on it. But right? Ooh, I'd have to check that out. It might have. Actually, I think it does have the Motown versions of the songs on there. I don't know. I didn't buy it, so I don't know. But it begins with the Jackson 5 era stuff, and it continues up through the end of the Jacksons and the song Bad. I don't want to say the Bad era, because that implies that like every song from Bad is fair game. You know, it ends with the song Bad, so that's on there. But a soundtrack is supposed to be a playlist of the songs that play in the movie. So, do I want them to spend time in the movie on that like random day or two that Michael recorded Jane is a Groupie or Water? No. You know, you've got 2 hours to tell, like, what, 40 years worth of story? 30 years worth of story? You gotta keep it moving. The other thing I found a little annoying is that they're not the versions of the songs that are used in the movie. Like, in the movie, Jafar Jackson's vocals are blended in with Michael's. And as somebody who collects, like, I try to collect every single song that Michael officially released or that the estate released on his behalf. And that includes a lot of, like, variations of songs. Like, you know, in Argentina, there was like a 3-minute cut of Billie Jean, and in Mexico, there was a 6-minute cut of Beat It, you know, like that kind of stuff. And now, as a result of this film, there are brand new variations of the songs, because you have like what amounts to almost like a duet between Michael and Jafar. That might be going a little far, but like, it is different. And now there's nowhere to get those tracks, even though I'm going to need them at some point. You know? Soundtrack would have been a great place to do it. The other thing I didn't like about it is that Jafar is very prominently on the cover, which I get it. It's his movie. But you're making a Michael Jackson greatest hits album and putting somebody else on the cover. It felt a little odd, you know? It was also, you know, I mentioned that the movie starts in the Steel Town era. They perform Big Boy in the movie. It would have been cool to have that on the soundtrack, just so that you could have a greatest hits album that spans from the Steel Town era all the way to the Bad era. But they didn't do it. Missed opportunity. Not really going to fault the soundtrack for that. On the positive side, it was cool that they released it on red vinyl CD, which is increasingly rare these days. You don't see a lot of movie soundtracks released on CD. And cassette, which was... When was the last time anything was released on cassette, you know? So that was cool. Do I recommend buying the soundtrack? I don't know, because it's not really a career-spanning greatest hits album. Like, if you think about it, because it ends at the very beginning of the Bad era, there are a lot of songs that people really love and associate with Michael that are not going to be included. So you got like Man in the Mirror, Smooth Criminal, Black or White, Remember the Time, Scream, you know, Rock My World. So yeah. And making things a little bit more confusing or whatever is that they just re-released number ones this year on red vinyl. So you've got two Michael Jackson Michael Jackson greatest hits albums on the shelf at the same time. One a career-spanning greatest hits album, the other one really more just like that first half. So I don't know, if I was If I was in the market for a Michael Jackson Greatest Hits album, I'd probably prefer number ones. I feel like I just skipped a massive area of the stage here, so we're gonna have to go back. The hardest thing about this stage is you have to check every little cave, and it's not linearly laid out, so it's very easy to miss some. And then you've got to backtrack, and you're gonna lose a lot of health backtracking. If you're familiar with the number one's track listing, the new version that we got uses the European track list, so it might be a little different from what you remember. I don't remember entirely the differences. I know that I think we lose Ben, and we pick up Human Nature and Blood on the Dance Floor in exchange, which is a pretty good trade. It's cool that they did it too, because like, you know, a lot of times I'll walk into Barnes & Noble and I'll look through the colored vinyl, and you know, you never actually see a Michael one. This time I got to walk into a Barnes & Noble. I saw number ones right on the rack there. I didn't get it, but it was cool, you know? I don't know. Ooh, there's a spider logo there. We're gonna have to go back over there. Hey! Alright, this is what I think of your no moonwalking sign. That's right, you hold the back button while you're kicking, I guess. You can moonwalk. And of course, you can full-on dance too, but you're gonna lose a lot of health doing that, so I wouldn't recommend it. Speaking of colored vinyl, Motown did a big release, or as of the time I'm recording this, they haven't come out yet, but they're coming out in June. They're releasing a big chunk of the Jackson 5 Michael Solo Motown catalog on colored vinyl in Japan. So that's kind of annoying, because you're going to have to pay like a decent amount to import this stuff. So I think it's like, was it $40 a record plus shipping? I can't remember. They look really cool though. It's like the dominant color of each album cover is what the vinyl's pressed on. And while you don't get all of them, you get, from the Jackson 5, you get Diana Ross Presents the Jackson 5, ABC, third album, and Maybe Tomorrow. And then over on the Michael solo side, you get Got to Be There, Ben, Music and Me, and Forever Michael, which is all of the studio albums, from Michael at least. Over on the Jackson 5 side, they've left out Looking Through the Windows, Going Back to Indiana, which was actually a live soundtrack. Down and Around. The Christmas album, Get It Together, Dancing Machine, Skywriter, and Moving Violation. And then there were also 3 albums of material that Motown put together just to exploit the fact that they had a bunch of extra songs sitting around after, you know, they left for CBS. So they made Joyful Jukebox Music, Boogie, and Farewell My Summer Love, and those are not getting a release, so... Okay. But yeah, I didn't order any of them just because, like, it's the sort of thing... I've always considered the Jackson 5 to be more of a greatest hits band, like, in the sense that I don't really love any of their albums specifically. I mean, I like Get It Together because I'm a big funk fan, but... I mean, there's, like, 2 singles on each one, and then the rest is just filler. So do I want to pay, $40 an album or however much they're charging, plus shipping? I don't think the tariffs are supposed to be an issue anymore, right? Like, I think that's done. So at least that wouldn't be an issue. But still, it's a lot for, what is it, 8 albums? It's one of those things where you get one of them or you get all of them, That adds up quick. And for albums that I don't really love, I would so much have rather gotten like the Michael solo albums on colored vinyl, maybe like I was about to say Black Dangerous because, the Dangerous album was like black and gold, but black would just be the regular album. Maybe White for Bad, maybe I don't know. Comment. Let me know what colors you'd love to see the Michael Jackson solo albums. Maybe like orange for Thriller, like the Little Tiger, or green for the Zombies. There's nothing telling you have to go into these waterfalls, by the way. So in the other levels, you go in them and you're not rewarded with anything for doing it. Most of the time in video games, if you find a secret area, there's like a collectible or a power-up or something. In this level, it's just death. Oof. So yeah, speaking of vinyl releases, I was actually really surprised. Oh, you know what? Before we go on to that, I did want to say about Motown. While we're talking about like random ways that Motown could have exploited the Michael Jackson catalog, I mentioned before that I do a lot of collecting of the like the single versions of songs and all of that, promo versions. A lot of them are Motown, like mono single versions that have just never been made available on vinyl. I had to spend a lot of time like acquiring vinyl records and 40-year-old vinyl singles and digitizing them. Motown could have absolutely released some of that stuff, They did it for Stevie Wonder. There's a Cobuzz compilation. I think I gotta go back there. There's a Cobuzz compilation like Stevie Wonder, the Motown, the mono single collection or whatever. I would have loved to have a mono single collection for the Jackson 5 and Michael. And yes, so getting back to what I was going to say before, along the lines of like missed opportunities, like where is this announcements? Where were our friends at Mobile Fidelity? They've been re-releasing Michael's solo catalog, and they did say, they've done Off the Wall, Thriller, and Dangerous. They released them on One Step Vinyl, which is supposed to be like, they're like an audiophile studio record company, whatever you want to call it. They kind of remix the albums in such a way where they bring the vocals and the instrumentation forward, kind of deprioritize certain other things to make the field of sound a little different, make it sound better. I don't know, in their opinion. On Thriller, they wound up deprioritizing the bass line, which is a big no-no in a dance album, but it does sound good. I mean, it's not my preferred way of listening to the album, but it is good. It's a different way of listening to it, which is nice. On Off the Wall, their edition of Off the Wall is actually my preferred way of listening to Off the Wall. It sounds great, they did raise the volume on all the songs to like, let's say like the most they could without distorting, which meant, a lot of reviews mentioned like the back half of that album that was supposed to crescendo in its volume no longer does that. Which is a shame, but it's not anything you're really missing. But yeah, so they put out one-step vinyl releases and Super Audio CD releases of Off the Wall, Thriller, and Dangerous. And in a podcast the president of Mobile Fidelity did say that they were going to be getting to the rest of the Michael Jackson catalog with announcements coming throughout this year. And I was really surprised that there was no big announcement, you know, like, to capitalize on the success of the movie. Like, they could have announced Bad. They didn't. I was shocked. Bad is probably my favorite Michael Jackson album, and I would have loved to have had a Super Audio CD of it, so I've been waiting for that one. You got to figure they're going to do that before History, at least, because... Oh, boy. Because the first disc of History is a greatest hits album. Oh, I love that they animated... It's hard to see them. The spiders are dancing. It's a nice touch. Yeah, the first disc of History is a greatest hits album that's made up of the songs from Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad. So you figure if they do that first, they finish Bad first, then they don't have to do as much work later when they're doing History. That's right. So it's Bad, History, and Invincible to go. I don't know if they're going to do Blood on the Dance Floor. It's not technically one of his studio albums. All right. I got a little trapped on the stairs there. Actually, it's kind of funny. While I was practicing this game earlier in the week, my daughter kind of came in and saw me playing it, and she wanted to play it. So I handed her the controller, and, you know, she's young, but she's not bad at video games. It was the first level, she got stuck on the stairs. Like, she couldn't figure out how to get up the stairs, and I was telling her, you gotta go diagonal. She couldn't get it. Threw the controller down. It was a total rage quit. She's like, I'm done with this game. I'm making it look easier than it is. This is a tough game. Who's bad? Come on. What else can we discuss? You know, speaking of all these vinyl re-releases and everything, it was actually really cool to see very recently, actually right now, as a matter of fact. Ooh. Michael's catalog has been performing really well on the Billboard 200. And I'm not just talking about, like, an R&B chart or an oldies chart or anything like that. I mean, like, the top albums in the world, the top songs in the world. Currently, the #1 song in the world right now is Billie Jean, which I did not have on my 2026 bingo card. Billie Jean hitting #1. Very recently, I want to say, like, before the movie came out, They Don't Care About Us charted in the top 10, which was really interesting because They Don't Care About Us didn't chart in the top 10 upon its original release. So Michael got a brand new top 10 hit in 2026. Oh man, I'm not doing well here. So it really speaks to... Oh man. It speaks to the timelessness of the music, which I think is really cool. That, like, audiences today are still playing this stuff, you know? Come on. I do feel bad for whatever artist is releasing, you know, a new album right now, and they've got to compete with Michael Jackson for the #1 spot. All right, go up. You? Nope. Come on. Where do you need me to go? Yeah, I already did that one. No. Which one am I skipping? It's hard for me to pay attention and talk and play at the same time. So, I feel like I already did that one. It's not that one. No. Alright, did I do this one already? Come on. No. Is there another one over here? No. Well, we're definitely not hitting the par time now. There we go.
Yeah!
Sorry about that. All right. Another thing we could talk about are the Keepsake trading cards. If you watched my last video, which was far and away the most viewed video I've ever put on this channel, which was what inspired us to play Moonwalker. Plus, I really wanted to talk about the movie. We opened up 4 breaker boxes during that video. I've opened up a bunch of these cards since. I think I want to do a deep dive video just on that, like, you know, the big hits, because I have everything you can get out of these cards at this point. Ugh. That doesn't require a redemption. So I don't have an autograph card. I don't have the gemstone relic or the precious metals relic. Just, I don't know. Why are they putting like gold bars into a trading card anyway? Like, I don't care. You know? But I have everything else, so it might be cool to show what all the different cards look like, all the different inserts, you know, the relics that are not a gold bar. But on the 50,000 foot level, we could talk about the cards a little bit now. Ugh. Come on. There we go. Alright, I'm in deep trouble now. This might actually be the hardest stage in the game. Outside of the... I know there's a bomb in there. We're not touching that. Outside of the end boss, let's say, I would say the hardest boss fight is the 3-2 zombies. But this is probably the hardest overall level. Ugh, I jumped right into that. Alright, that laser has to go. You're really in trouble when you lose your magic. Alright, I got the magic back. That's good. And I lost it again. There's got to be 2 kids left. Alright. This should refill it enough that I can have magic. The last kid should refill my health in general. Like, all the way, right? No! It's very important that you destroy these lasers, especially over here, because I think this is where the boss stage is, or the boss fight. Maybe. And if you don't take the lasers out, the lasers will continue to shoot at you while you're fighting the boss part. I don't know why I'm doing that. Not looking for kids anymore. Alright, where are we going? Okay. There's kind of a trick to this one. The green guys are going to come out and attack me. And I need to hit them while they're jumping this way. So as long as we keep up this pace of they jump at me and I hit them, should have no trouble. So since I don't need a lot of brain power to beat them, let's talk about the Keepsake cards. I think some of them look really cool. Like, really cool. And others look really lazy. It comes down to, there's like 25, 30 unique images, and they get repeated a lot on different templates. Some of them are kind of amateurishly looking photoshopped. Others look great. And I think that's part of it. Like, every card has a certain number of variants, which I can get into during the deep dive. No. But like each card basically has every kind of variant. So I think the idea of the set is that you're supposed to find the images you like the most and pair them with the variant kind you like the most. I don't think you're necessarily supposed to try to collect everything. Like, I did mention, like, I have basically one of every insert, you know, like I've got the glove card and the jacket card and canvas, all that. What I don't actually have is a complete base set. Or I do, but it's, it would require, you know, like the filling in some of the parallels where the actual base version ought to go. So I don't have like a clean base set yet. That's crazy that it was easier for me to get like the glove and the jacket and canvas card and all that than it was to get card number 87 you know, in the base set. But yeah, so I think the idea is you find the images you like the most and pair it with the kinds of inserts you like the most. So if it's like the rainbow foil or the wave refractor or whatever. Because some of them, they look so good. Like, and then others, and it might just come down to subjectivity. Like, others, I look at them and I'm like, what were you thinking? But I guess that's the beauty of it. You have a lot of, I'm saying choice, like you can just pick. Like, yeah, I want the canvas on the platinum wave refractor, you know. All right, I'm going to pause right here so we can talk about the Lucky Star because we skipped over that before. If you catch the Lucky Star in this game, you get to turn into Mecha Michael Jackson, which is objectively awesome. You turn into this giant killer robot thing that he has in the movie. The problem with it is that it's very difficult catching that shooting star in the first place. When you get it, you're not invincible. And you can't rescue the kids. So as you like move around the stage attacking stuff, you're taking damage. And you're not actually making any progress in rescuing the kids. You can see where they're hiding, but unless you really remember, okay, it was behind that door, it doesn't really matter. And then when you come back to those areas to rescue those kids later, the enemies will have respawned. So unless you're really going for points, it's more of a liability than it is a help. Except for here. Here, all the enemies are going to swarm you during the boss fight, and you get to turn into Mecha Michael Jackson, and it matters. Like, it sticks. So here we go. And then after this will be the end boss fight, which, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not great at it. Like, I've beaten this game several times before. Here we go. What's up now? But I always feel like it's luck, you know? Like, I never, like, know what I'm doing beating this game. That's right. So as Mecha Michael Jackson, we can shoot these, heat-seeking missile things in addition to lasers. The heat-seeking missile things actually take a little bit of health away from you, and we can fly. So use that sparingly. Try to rely on your lasers here, because they don't actually take any magic. As soon as I kill all these guys, the stage will be over, and then we fight Mr. Big. Come on. I think I'm trapped here. Anybody else want some more? Yeah, you want some? Alright. Who else? Come on, bring it on. Let's see. Gonna take on Mecha Michael Jackson. I want to hear in the comments who wins, Mecha Michael Jackson or Mecha Godzilla. There we go. And now it's on to Mr. Big. I'd also love to hear in the comments what your favorite, if you have any memories of playing this game, if you really liked this game, what your favorite Genesis games are. Like, I really loved Sonic 1, Sonic and Knuckles, Flicky, Jurassic Park, X-Men, Tasmania. Like, the Genesis was my time. Like, I started with the NES in kindergarten, and then most of my childhood was the Genesis. Alright. So, Mr. Big is the green ship. It's kind of tough to find him here. Let's see. Where are you? There you are. Constantly runs away. I have to dodge all of his... I don't even know what these are. Are they missiles? Are they planes? I don't know. Stop running. There's a great philosopher, I believe his name was Yoda, once said, "If so powerful you are, why leave?" That's kind of how I feel about this. Stop running from me and fight. You have a radar over there that tells you where he is, but it's hard for me to look down there and see it. I have no idea if I'm doing well or not, like, just spamming the B button. Trying to hit him, trying not to get hit myself. Come on, come on! What do you got? Come on! Wait, which one of us? I died, of course. That's a game over. I do get continues, though, and we'll get to start right there, so. I actually thought, for what it's worth, I thought I was doing well there. Oh, we got Bubbles dancing. Okay, very nice. My hand is starting to cramp up. I don't know if I can do this much longer. I gotta win. None of the rest of the game really hurts my hand, but this level really hurts my hand because you're really... I find myself really driving down on the controller to try to get over there. He's winning this. It doesn't really do you any good attacking all of his other stuff. You really just want to try to dodge it if you can. Get over here! That was another game I loved on the Genesis, Mortal Kombat. Get over here! Come on. Come on, stop running away and fight. This is lame. Did we do it? Yeah! Eat my fedora! It's a shame we had to use a continue there. It would have been nice to beat the whole thing without doing it, but you did get to see us beat the game. Would have been nice if they played Come Together over the credits instead of Bad, because that's how the movie ends. I noticed they've got one of the other of the three kids dancing here. We had to rescue the same kid over and over and over again. Michael, 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 Michael. We couldn't put like any of the other kids in there. I mean, we had the time to animate this kid dancing in its entirety here, which is also really impressive. All of the dance sprites that they put in this game, like today you wouldn't think about it, but in those days, every sprite that you had took up valuable real estate in the cartridge. So it is impressive that all of the dancing they animated in this game, So yeah, I love the game. Not a lot of depth to this. You just go around, you rescue the one kid over and over and over again. I mean, to be fair, she is the only one in the movie that got kidnapped. But it does get a little monotonous. And some of the boss fights, or some of the areas in general, just don't feel fair all the time, Like that 3-2 boss fight is not fair, especially early on in the game as it is. But I don't know. I didn't play this as a kid, you know, like I said, like I got it in between high school and college. If I had this as a kid, it probably would have been one of my favorite Genesis games just because of how much of a Michael fan I was growing up as, but it's still cool, you know? There actually haven't been a lot of Michael games. There was Michael Jackson The Experience on the... Wow, that was on a lot of platforms. Fun fact, am one of the only people in the world that has the Platinum Trophy in Michael Jackson The Experience. There's like less than 50, and I'm one of them. Which means, yes, like I mastered all the dances. I can moonwalk, not awesomely, but I can do it. If I'm in socks on wood, perfect. The second I throw on sneakers, they grip the ground a little too much while I'm trying to glide backwards. I got to work on that. So I'll work on that. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Comment, let me know, you know, what you thought of this game, what your favorite Genesis games are, what your favorite Michael Jackson songs are, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.